Yes, it's recording. So the opportunities should not be what you are going to do. The opportunities should not mention the name of the brand that you are working with. That's what you should find inside the strategies. Inside the opportunities, you should write about changes in the environment that are that will influence the they will influence the direction that the company is going to go after. Okay. So then the problem is the next problem is how you deal with the STP. So here the STP, and that's also very common, so it's nothing new, is students deal with it as if it's a different thing. Oh yes, so I didn't answer the question I just asked, or at least I didn't finish. I asked why is not, it's not, there's no connection between the opportunities and the strategies. And someone answered, because the opportunities were not good or not understood. That's correct. So there's a mistake at this level. That is correct. But the main reason is a lack of communication between the team members. So to do well in this project, there is a need to communicate between one another. And this communication is not just for the sake of being on the same page. It's also for the opportunity to talk to someone else, to sort of exchange with this other person ideas, and to build this report together. So if you don't exchange, if you don't communicate, if you don't share ideas, people are not on the same page. And that is the problem that generates the fact that you do not understand each other and you work on your own part. So someone's part is to write about strategies. And someone else's part is to write about targeting. And someone else's part is to write about the opportunities. When you do this and you treat it as, each other, you do your job and you do your job well and everyone their own job, unfortunately, you end up having a poor cohesion between the different parts because they are related. They are a different level. The strategy is the direction, the plan, the high level plan for the company. The opportunities is the raw material that you're going to work with in order to make a decision for the long-term plan of the company, which are the strategies. And then the target is who is going to be the focus of the company while you run the strategy to satisfy. Who are you trying to satisfy? Who's paying you? And who is liking what you are doing? You're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for them. So who are they? You cannot be everything to everyone. So you have to focus who you want to be something special to. Okay. So this special person that you mentioned in the target more precisely has to be discussed as a trend, as a change in the opportunity. So here comes the target is somewhat very clear in the opportunity, and the strategy is the plan in order to satisfy the target, which had something changing that you identified in the opportunities. I remember very specifically, there was one group who wrote their opportunities, and every one of they had like 7, 8 opportunities, and each one of the statements started with the word senior. Senior are more like this and less like that. Senior are increasingly wanting this and wanting that. Senior are that and this and this and that. Senior, 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 senior. So when you see, and it's a little bit too obvious, I don't recommend doing this, but when you see someone in the opportunity that all they do is talk about how much senior want X, Y, and Z how much senior are changing, you can be sure, that when it comes to defining what are the characteristics of the customer, what would you say the characteristic is, the number one characteristic?
Seniors.
Yes, for seniors, what would be the number one characteristic?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Professor.
Okay, so I'll repeat that. There was one group of, so the target is the offspring, is the outcome of something changing in the opportunity section. So if in the opportunity section, you say there is a increasing amount of people who are now hiking more than 18 minutes per week. And from 2019 to 2021, this is a 70% increase, according to forest.com. When we look at the target, it's expected that they're going to talk about people and discuss about their lifestyle, their hobby, their favorite things to do. And it's going to be about, the amount that you walk. The less you walk, the less you'll be interested. So walking or exercising and the amount, so it's going to be the characteristics. Now, example, if in the opportunity section, someone keeps saying they have like, let's say 6 opportunities, and it's senior, do that, senior, do this, senior, do that, senior, do this, senior, do that, senior, do this. So that's 6. You will expect that one of the target, if not the only target that they're going to talk about when they talk about segmentation, targeting, and positioning will be seniors. But before you talk about targets, you have to talk about segments. Segments are the characteristics of the target. So what would you expect the first characteristics that they talk about that is important for the target?
The age?
Exactly, the age. So segment characteristics, age. After age, maybe you have income. Maybe after income, you have gender. Maybe after gender, you have social class. See, this I don't know. But one thing I know is it's very coherent, sort of obvious that they talk about the age in the segmentation, and then the seniors when they talk about the target, when they put so much effort and research inside the opportunity section, mostly, if not only, talking about seniors and the changes around seniors in order to make a special shoe for them. So what is the biggest mistake that we see in these reports? The lack of cohesion. And the cohesion is visible, very visible, when you actually just read the opportunities, the strategies, and the targets, because you want to make sure that they're still referenced. And so whatever opportunities that you find will be what you will use in order to make the strategies. A lot of people made strategies, I feel like saying, out of thin air. They made them up. It's like, what is going to be the strategy? Oh, I don't know. The strategy maybe is to partner with another brand. So they put strategy is to partner with another brand. So it's like, it's like Wells Fargo partnering with Nike or something. But then you go back into the opportunity and there's nothing to support that. It's just as if there are different assignments and they're separated. So you want to make sure that there's connections. Do you have any question on this?
Professor, I have a question. Yeah.
Okay.
So when we choose our target market for the brand, do we choose our target market for the brand, or do we write what the brand is targeting for the STP section?
Oh, you mean what the brand is targeting currently?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not currently. You see, if we take the example of Patagonia, there are some people that buy Patagonia because they really like the fact that it's like a professional grade clothing and equipment and all that. There's some people that like Patagonia because they like the fact that it's not fashion. It's mostly based on the quality of the components, the impact the components to make this clothing have had on the environment, and the fact that it's not fast fashion, but it's slow fashion. So it's not super stylish. It's a little simple, over simple, but that's what people like about it. So it's not the fact that they're going to use it professionally, And another group like Patagonia because there is a status. So they buy the status. So you see different groups. And when you talk about your STP, it's going to be the STP of the group, of the specific group of individual that you want to sell the grounded shoes to. So it's not the generic or one of the, you're not doing an STP of the brand. Is you doing an STP of the target you will want that brand, once they make grounded shoes, to focus on. Does that answer your question now?
Yes. So you're saying that we get to choose the target based on our opportunities.
Exactly. Yes, you choose the target based on your opportunity. But here's the trick: is you don't want to choose a target based on your opportunities that are too far from what the brand you've selected to. It should be, what can I say, reasonable, where there should be not too much of a, of a difference. So it's like if you say we're going to sell the grounded shoe through McDonald's, and we want the target to be people that are PhD in nutrition. People who have a PhD in nutrition not going to go to McDonald's ever. It just doesn't belong. So be careful of which brand you choose, because the brand that the best brand you choose is the brand that will already have the perfect targets for your product in their current customers. The brand that you choose will have the strength, the specific strength, so what you have in the strength, to go and make these grounded shoes. Maybe it's a strength because they have something to do with producing something that would be related to already making these shoes, or maybe because they have a channel of distribution that is particularly appropriate, something in their strengths that makes sense. And the other thing is, yeah. Does that answer your question? I don't want to.
Yeah, it answers my question. I have one more really quickly.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So our threats are about earthing shoes, right?
Your threats. So your threats And that was sort of the best part that was done very well, even by the people that didn't do very well. The threat was always done well. Yes, about the shoes. So, you know, the most common threat is the fact that that concept of earthing shoe is not famous. So people don't think about, oh, I need to buy some earthing shoes. People don't even know it exists. The other threat was the fact that people are, no, there's no hard data that really confirms what the grounded shoes are supposed to do. So it's not scientifically demonstrated by a reliable source that it works. Another threat is the fact that consumers may find some space for liability, you know, buying the shoe, hoping for something and not getting it. So there's a little bit of a regulation, liability, legal aspects. You know, so the threats are external. People made the mistake of putting the fact that the shoe are not scientifically proven to help people's health inside the weaknesses. It's not specific to your shoe. It's the entire category. So because it's the entire category, it's not internal, it's external. Right? So do you understand this? I don't know, let me ask someone randomly. Parth Ayer, are you there, Parth? Yeah.
Here,
Kind of
before.
me or
Yeah, Parth Ayer.
Yes.
Why the fact that the shoes are not confirmed by science, why is it a threat, or should it be a weakness? Where does it belong to?
Not so sure, Professor, right now.
You're not so sure.
Yeah.
So in the strengths and weaknesses are internal,
Mhm.
and opportunities and threats are external, right? So it's like saying, you know, cars in general are expensive because they use a lot of gas and gas prices are up. You can't put this as a weakness. That's a threat, because that's not just for your car. It's not internal to you. It's just the condition of the product for any car that works with gas. So everything that is internal, so if it was like you make a specific grounded shoe, and that grounded shoe is recognized as having very good connection to the ground, because it's very conductor. The copper or the technology used in the shoe is very good. Your feet are very earthed, very grounded. Where does that go? Your brain is really good for this. There's like a lot of energy that goes in your body and to the ground, more than other shoes, for example. Where does it go? And again, I'm asking this to Parth Ayer. Where would it go? Is that internal or is that external?
I would say internal, Professor.
Yes, it's internal. So it's your shoe are very good in quality of how they ground you. So that's a strength.
Mhm.
Now, because of the amount of copper that you use in your shoe has a lot of copper, and therefore it's more expensive than your competitors because you use so much copper. Where does that go?
I would say external this time, but I'm not sure.
No, that's your shoe. Your shoe has lots of copper.
It's
And that's
internal.
so it's internal. So therefore it's a weakness. Because you use so much copper, you end up having a shoe that really is good at grounding. So you get a benefit, that's a strength. But because it has so much copper and copper prices are going up, then
Yeah.
that makes it to that shoe that is more expensive to make, and therefore it's more expensive to buy. That's a weakness.
Makes sense, Professor.
The fact that the price of copper is going up, what is that? Is that a weakness, or is that an opportunity, or is that a threat?
I would lean into weakness or threat, but I'm not sure. Wait.
So the fact that copper goes up is for everybody, you know,
Mhm.
and therefore everybody is bad from it, you know. So it's like, actually this morning I had almost an hour discussion with my supplier in my distributor in China, where I sell products, and the prices went up in a week. My product went up in a week by 20%. And he was complaining because he was saying that I was trying to increase the price by 20%. And it was my product that were becoming too expensive. But I told him it's the general price
Mhm.
for the liquids. So I sell a cognac. Inside the cognac, there's like a spirit. And all the cognacs are going up. Not just me, it's the price of the liquid. And the general price for the liquid is going up because there's a short supply and more demand. You know? And it's funny because I had this argument, then I went to get some gas. And at the gas station, there was a gentleman that was screaming at the attendant at the gas station, the check counter person, telling him that he was a pig because the price a year ago was $3 for a gallon, and now it's $4.75. And that he was getting rich on everybody's back. And the gas station attendant says it's not us raising the price. It's the
Yeah.
whole petroleum prices that are going up.
Yeah.
So the fact that the prices are up, you know, it's a weakness,
Mhm.
but at the same time, it's a threat that the prices are going up because it affects the entire industry of people selling gas. And you have person selling gas really doesn't have much to do with this. It's inflation, it's supply and demand. Not enough people supplying, more people are buying. So the strengths and weaknesses and the opportunities and threats, you have to constantly think about what is internal, which is us, versus what is the universe around that is affecting those factors, right? The one that you cannot control. Okay, so the fact that grounded shoes are not proven to be working, that's not a weakness. You know, the fact that people don't even know what's a grounded shoes, that's not a weakness. It's a threat. A weakness would be for Earth Runners. People don't know the brand Earth Runners. So if you're Earth Runners and people don't know your brand of Earth Runners grounded shoes, it's a weakness because it's your brand. You're controlling your brand. So it's low brand awareness is not a threat, is a weakness. Now, a low product awareness is a threat because it's the entire product category.
Professor, I have a question.
Yes.
So you mentioned that a group made a list of a lot of companies and you didn't know some of the companies, so you had to look it up. It was my group. Is that like considered a weakness that you didn't, well, if you didn't know it, then like most people are not gonna know it. So that would be a weakness. We can put it in our weakness if we pick a company that is not really known, right?
Yes, of course. And I'm glad you're asking because you see, that's why I do not recommend to take companies that are, I do not, is it possible to do well with a company that nobody knows? I
No,
think
but
it's possible, but
they're already making grounding shoes.
yeah, but it's how can I say? it's like, is it possible to get rich and you know nobody, but the few people you know are poor, versus is it more possible to get rich that you know a lot of people and all those people are very rich? You know, it's the same. I mean, you're more likely to get sick going around sick people than getting sick away from sick people. So it's the
Right.
same thing. If you select a company that is small and nobody knows, and you hope that a small company that nobody knows is the best choice to take over a concept that nobody knows, I think it makes it harder.
Okay.
But then again, I don't recommend to pick Nike as well, because I think Nike is too big of a brand. Everybody knows Nike, so that's good. But I think it's too big of a brand to take a concept which needs to be launched in a way that is more targeted. I think eventually the people that would want grounded shoes might be becoming even everybody at one stage. But I think the diffusion of the innovation, the way the innovation is infiltrating inside the market, it will start with a group of people who are more interested in the benefits of this product. But that doesn't mean that the number of people interested in this product is small. It's still very large, but it's not everybody that's going to do better by being the first one to try it. And you know, there was people talking about influencers using celebrities and all this. Obviously that's going to help. And I cannot imagine a small unknown company having the capacity to collaborate with a celebrity. So that's where you have the luxury, you know, the convenience, the ease of selecting the company for yourself. And that's why Patagonia, in a way, is a little too big, but I think it works. I think there's smaller company that would be quite appropriate. And that's why I said that there were some company that are actually not very small, but they're not huge, but they're growing because they're doing something very specific. I don't want to give the name of it, but yeah, there's some company that are sort of growing, and they are in the fashion, and they are in the saving the world, being natural and all of this. And not everybody knows them, but once someone tell you and you check them and you go, whoa, I sort of left out. You see, there's a few companies that were pretty big. I just didn't know. And I can see that these were good choices. And so that's what I mean. So too small, you make it hard on yourself. Too big, it's, yeah, very big company in general, not always, but in general, are not the one that launch and take risks. They tend to take over and copy some innovation when the innovation has been quite introduced for a while. You know, they're very risk averse. So they let someone get it started. And so the company that are doing grounded shoes right now are tiny, and they're not making much bang, you know, noise enough to get the momentum that the grounded shoes could get with a bigger company. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure who was speaking.
Yes.
So that was you, Paulette? Oh, no,
No, it was me, Jennifer.
Jennifer. Oh yes, hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
And so, yeah, you want to find the right fit.
Okay.
And yeah, there was, if that was your team, there was lots of them there.
Yeah, we have a
And
lot of them.
and there was many that I think were really good. And I even felt like, man, I wish I could sort of just copy and give it for the students to see, because there's so many, it would be nobody left behind, you know, with a
Yeah.
list like that. So but I don't recommend the students to do a brainstorming around the brand. I think now it's probably easy. It should be easier for anyone to identify what brand would work best. Yeah. And so, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, Andres, go ahead.
So when we're listing weaknesses, you want us to include weaknesses about the company in general and about the grounding itself, right? Or should we be focusing on one?
No, the weaknesses. You see, the weaknesses about the grounded shoes are going to be mostly threats. So if you say that grounded shoes technology in its design is mostly generating a shoe design that is unattractive. And you see, I'm really measuring every word. So the technologies currently used by grounded shoes is mostly generating a shoe style that is not attractive. In some way, you could say, gee, that sounds like an opportunity. Eh, it is. If you said, according to fashion magazine Vogue, the grounded shoes are unattractive, yet very convenient. And so therefore, that's an opportunity for someone to find a way to design them in a more attractive way. So that's an opportunity. But at the same time, it's a threat that so far, so you have to phrase it slightly different. So how do you phrase it? How would, let's see if people understand, how would you phrase this as an opportunity? Anyone has any idea? How would you phrase that as an opportunity?
Could you repeat that one more time, Professor?
Yeah, how would you phrase that grounded shoes design is not good because of the way people use the technology? So let me do it then. So you'd say, according to so-and-so sources and reference, because sometimes I didn't have sources and reference, so I just try to mention it every time. According to that source, the way the shoes are designed in order to be grounded has mostly generated a style which is unattractive according to feedback from people. Okay, so that's that's a threat at the same time. How could you say it as a threat? Yeah, so that would be the opportunity. The threat would be saying, 75% of the people asked about grounded shoes said that they would not buy one because it does not look attractive. It doesn't look comfortable. It doesn't look sexy. So they're very, very similar, but they are not weaknesses. Why are they not weaknesses?
Because those are external.
Yeah, because this is an external point of view. If you are saying, again, earth running shoes, sandals are perceived as unattractive by 50%. of the consumers. That's a weakness because it's specifically that brand. So that's how you separate the internal versus the external. And you have to be very careful of that difference. I think if everybody reads the paper and reads the draft and keep working on the draft, and everybody is looking at what each other is doing and what they're putting in the strengths and weaknesses and so forth, based on my experience of doing this for many, many years, at the end in the paper, I don't find these mistakes. And my belief, I like to think that everybody gets it, but I think it's the group review and revisions that allow for everyone to look at it critically and see if it's internal or external, and eventually edit things in a way that I don't find these mistakes very often in the final paper. And I find these in the draft. I find it in the draft because it's just a draft. People are not as precise. People don't review each other as much. It's not graded. So I find these mistakes in the draft. When it comes to the final paper, it disappears and it's pretty rare. So I think you'll be okay based on the statistics of the many decades before your class. But I still want you to think about it. The difficulty here, and that's true for every project, is for you to identify opportunities that you can take advantage of. So last week, I had this idea of the treadmill, where you could make a positive ground treadmill, where the treadmill, where people will run, they would run with shoes, they would connect on the belt, on the carpet, and it would connect on the floor, and then everybody would be grounded. The other idea I had was Peloton, the bicycle, the home training indoor bicycle stand that will also be connected. So these are sort of crazy ideas, but that's how you can think about the connection that you would do for creating something which is an improvement. And it would be for people doing sports. People that do sports, they also do that because they want to be healthier. They don't want to normally get not as healthy. And therefore you would have the argument that you would bring an element of health. And, for some of the sports people, when they think about health, they think about something tangible and proven, that is scientifically proven. And if you offer them something that is not scientifically proven, they may not believe it. But there's still a group, and probably a large group, that if you offer them these characteristics, intuitively, they will want to have the product, even though they are not sure that it's going to work 100%. But why not? I may as well take advantage of something that is an additional benefit, which may help with my health, right? So you need to think outside of the box. You need to think of other elements. There's quite a lot. There's one group that sort of took the GDeFi example. So out of the 20 paper I reviewed, there was only one that took the GDeFi. And that's also very common. Whenever I give some potential solution, somehow the students don't take it. So the GDeFi was this brand, which is the first appendix in the template that I sent you, where you can see that they are creating a product for people who have knee and joint issues, and they have pain, and they would want to buy this shoe because it relieves them from the pain. However, the grounded shoes are supposedly also helping with pain. So to me, it seemed that there was a good connection between working with the brand GDeFi. The problem with GDeFi is it's not a big brand, but to tell you the truth, I didn't check to see if it was a big brand. I just saw it as an example to explain how you put connections together. If GDeFi is a brand that is growing and getting traction, I would go for it. There's also a group of students that took some brands that were very business to business, not the mainstream brand, but brand that were famous within people that work in hotels and restaurants, hospitals, in industry where people spend a long time working, standing up and walking different places and changing angles and all of this. And I think also that's a very good direction, because you would say, you know, you have stress, you have you have sore muscles, you have this kind of things, and therefore you get that brand of shoe, which is very famous for whatever angle of the sole or whatever design or whatever brand identity and so forth. And then the grounded shoe element will be an additional element to add to the shoe that would seem to be appropriate for that specific brand of shoe. So these were good. And if you're a nurse, nurses get constantly, or a doctor, or work in a restaurant, you're a chef, you're a cook, help assistant. These people get regularly solicited by those brands, which are more B2B brands, specialized in this type of businesses. And therefore, that's also very helpful. It will not take very long to find the name of those brands. And they may not be brands that I know, because I'm not working in hotel and restaurants. But if you work in hotel and restaurants, it's more common. And they are not small, and they would very much, and they should very much embrace some kind of innovation like that. Does that make sense? Looking at more of a brand like that? Okay, so let's take a break. I see it's just past 5, so let's take a 10-minute break. And after this, I will resume going back to product and new product development, which is the lecture I want to cover today. So see you at 5:17 or something like this, 5:17, 5:18. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't put it back.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's going to be a missing chunk here for sure. Now, share screen. Okay, so just to recap very quickly. So when you're looking at making an argument, the argument is between what you're good at and what the market is looking to get, those changes. So obviously, what you're good at makes it easier. What your strengths are makes it easier. However, you can still deal with weaknesses, but you're going to have to fix the weaknesses before you can take advantage of the opportunities. So the weaknesses, once they're fixed, that just creates a little delay. And it creates an extra expense. However, you cannot go in business expecting to always be successful. You know, it's the question in business, they say the timing. Timing is very important. Yeah, because you know, what is your strength? If your strengths happen the same time as an opportunity, the timing is right. If you're at the time of the opportunity, you have a weakness, the timing is not right, and therefore there is a delay, and that delay is going to cause the fact that you most likely will either not gain from the opportunity, or you will gain from when the opportunity is not as prime as it used to be. So in business, yes, timing is important. Now here's a very interesting and useful table, which I'm glad that we're recording. That's not going to be missing the recording. It's so good when you make a presentation and you talk about your competitors. And when you do a competitors analysis, also called benchmarking, which consists at looking at the strengths and weaknesses of your competitor for the most part, is you're going to look at what is your company do. So in that situation, your company will be called, let's say, stage match. And then stage match, well, look at what the competitors do. And you will want to make the argument that the target or the opportunity says that all these characteristics are important. And that in order to take advantage of these characteristics is you need to have the strength to match these characteristics, which are benefits that the customers are looking for. So these benefits, if you have them, you gain from that opportunity of having them because customers are going to look for them. So you want to have as many check marks as possible. When you look at this, those check marks physically show the argument that you are fit to take advantage of that target with these opportunities, but it also directly shows who you compete against. And so in one slide, you can show a lot of information. This is the same thing, but it's a different design. So this shows a breakfast cereal, and it shows the different competitors for that breakfast cereal as well. And based on the characteristics, these characteristics, who decide what are these characteristics? The marketer, the food nutritionist engineer from your company, the target, who decides what should the characteristics be? You see, it says this breakfast cereal says is grain-free, is gluten-free, it's sugar-free, it's something free. It's no DNA testing, no animal mistreatment, and all of this. Who decides for this?
I think ultimately you decide, but it's based off of your target group.
Exactly. It's a target group. So the company decides, but they only decide because that's what the target wants to hear. So that's why it's interesting to understand the impact of marketing, which is that, you know, the things that you hear are, you know, like when a politician speaks, does a politician tells you what they want to do, what they should do, or what they know that you want to hear?
They tell you everything you want to hear.
They tell you everything you want to hear. So I'm sorry to say, it's a little bit stereotyping, and it's politically incorrect even to say what I'm just said. But it's a stereotype that I'm just borrowing for the sake of seeing if you understand what I'm saying. Who is right is the customer. If you adopt that principle, you will be correct 99% of the time. Are you going to correct 100% of the time? No, because these are social science. It's business. There's no rule that works 100% of the time, you know. However, there are some rules that work a lot of times. And even that one may not be 99%, but it's a high number. If you give the customers what they want, then you succeed. If people want gluten-free, give them gluten-free. If people want to be vegetarian, tell them to be vegetarian. If that's what you do. At the end of the day, what's also important is your reputation. And sometimes you have to have a reputation. And sometimes you have to also give people something that they don't know that they want. And once you give it to them, then they realize that's something that they wanted. Okay. So it constantly changes. And it's not really the job of a marketer to evaluate what's right or what's wrong. The job of a marketer is mostly to understand what the consumer wants. And then eventually you can have an ethical perspective where you can try to steer consumers towards something that is better, right? And that is very important. But I sort of emphasize and sort of overemphasize in a way that is maybe a little bit politically incorrect on the fact that you want to think that the customer is always right. And I'm saying this because I hope by saying this, I will inspire you and maybe influence you, persuade you that's the way to do it, because it's just safer. Once you've developed this way and it's just a natural way, then you can start thinking about what you want as the owner of the business, as the leader of the business. And you can do that. But most people think that as the owner, they know better than the customers. That's the most common way people think. And that common way is what generates a lot of failure. So to avoid that, I insist on the target being always right, in hope that that sort of steers the balance more that direction. So you breakfast cereal, you ask your customer what's important, and you find that these are the characteristics. And then you judge yourself against your competitor, assuming that these competitors go for the same target. If they go for a different target and you put them inside this evaluation grid, does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. If they don't have the same target, they may be right in their own way and they just don't belong there. And that's why they are not very highly successful with the competitive evaluation. You know, it's a little bit like I went to see a few movies that I thought were horrible, but the reality is they were horrible for me. They were horrible for me, but they may have been wonderful for someone else. Another example, there's movies that I saw or singer that I heard that I didn't like 20, 10 years, 5 years, 25 years ago, that now I actually think they are wonderful, more wonderful. I mean, I remember I have a kid who is 19 and one who is 14. I remember a few years ago telling them that I thought that Queen as a music band was one of the best. And they told me that Queen was not good. But I told them, how do you know? You've not even heard Queen. And then they would look at me and says, that's why it's not good. I've never heard about it because it's not good. If it was good, I heard about it. Then came the movie Queen, and it was popular. They went to see Queen, they came back and they said, oh, Queen is probably the best band in the world. And I said, that's what I was telling you before. And now that's what everybody says. So it's sort of the example that you are a target at one point in time for someone, you change, you're not a target anymore, and you're not the target for everybody. So what is marketing? Marketing is really this knowledge that allows you, and you see every time I ask a question, it was always the same answer. It was the target. It's this knowledge that allows you to better understand people and better satisfy people and not treat people as if they're all the same. And it's not like because you're a good person and you think everybody is different. It's because that's business. Business is to understand the differences and satisfy the differences. Okay. Do you have any questions? All right. So I'll just go quickly finish on all this to that extent. So therefore, Strategies are the big picture, long-term direction. They are supported by your opportunities. So remember this, what I read in the opportunities, I'm probably going to read it again in the strategies, and I'm probably going to hear it, some of it again in the targets, who you sell. Now, the strategies are the plan, the broad plan, the long-term plan. Inside the long-term plan, there is the short-term plan, and these are called the tactics. Okay, so strategies lead to tactics. The basic strategies that you've learned is market penetration, market development, product development, diversification. What's important as well, and that was a weakness for many of, well, it's hard for me to say because not everybody wrote something about the strategies inside the draft. The people that wrote about it, I would say 50% use one of these. They say, oh, we're going to do market penetration. They made it bold and they underlined it, so it was very clear. And there was 50% that said something else. Is we're going to try to sell the product to a target that like to walk. Okay, so is that market development? Is it market penetration? I was not clear. So you have to be clearly stating what strategy you're going to employ as option 1, as option 2. You don't just give the definition of the strategy. As option 1, we're going to have a new product development, which consists in making a new product for the same target. No, that's the definition. You don't want to just say the definition. Now, here's another question. Very quick to finish. Could you have, so let's say you have 6 strategic options in the paper. Could you have more than once one of the strategy where you could have product development as two times, 2 options? You know, strategic option 1, new product development, and then strategic option 4, also new product development. Is it possible?
Yeah, you could have different products.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Trevor. You can have different products because, you know, a lot of people talk about the fact that people are going hiking more and more. And therefore they would want to be connected to Earth since they're doing exercise, since they're trying to be healthy, since they're trying to remove their stress and all of that while they're hiking. Like that's the benefit. You would imagine that if you tell them and you get connected to Earth and you are comfortable and safe and so forth. So you make a hiking grounded shoes because of more and more people hiking. But then you find that there's people that have pain issues and therefore they want comfortable shoes that help with their joints and blah, blah, blah. That's the opportunity and that's growing. And then you could have another thing, which will be a comfortable shoe and which is connected to the ground. So it's a new product. So you could have multiple, but now I do not recommend to have 6 strategic options, and the 6 strategic options are just the same new product development with 6 different products. That's kind of like the extreme. I'm not recommending that. But what I'm trying to say is you do not feel forced if you have 4 strategies to recommend as options to have one of each. You see here, these are the 4 basic strategies, but there's more strategies than that. There is also product leadership, overall cost leadership, market leadership. There's many other strategies. If you go back to the session on the strategy, there's more than 4. So do not feel compelled having to create only independent names of strategies. There could be some repetition. That's okay. Do you have any questions? So look, communicate with your team, look at your paper, improve your paper, think hard on the opportunities and therefore the brand that would be best to work with these opportunities, and think about the connections between all the different sections. Look again at the templates. I'm going to send the last template that I sent. And the reason is that I think some people didn't use it at all. So I apologize in advance for the people that are going to wonder, why do I send something that I already sent? It's just because I have the feeling that if I had to give a number, I would say there's 25% minimum, maybe more than that, of people that did not very closely look at the template. And so I want everybody to do well. And so the feeling of having 25% of the students that didn't look well at the template makes me want to insist on it. So I'm going to send it again, but it's nothing new. It's something I sent. So if you've seen it before, don't worry. If you have not seen it before, take advantage of this second chance of getting it and look at it. Be kind with your group members, communicate, be fair, and work at it. This is an investment in yourself, more than just getting a good grade in this class. This is very realistic, and I hope you can learn a lot from it. Okay, I'll see you next week. Hopefully next week I can get back my computers to work, so that way I can go back to being much faster at getting all of this connected. All right, have a great week, everyone.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you,
Likewise.
Professor.
you.
Have a good
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you,
Professor.
Professor.
Thank you, Professor.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, Professor. I have a quick question about the paper. So after we fix our problem, can I take it to your office hour to review or no?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
And also Eric is there. Eric is, like I said, he did a third of the reviews.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank
So
you.
yeah, that's the exact purpose.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot. You have a great week, Professor.
Thank
See
you,
you
you
next
too.
week. Take care. Bye.